Gotta make the wait bot stop. Hi,
Such
everybody.
music.
I know you guys can hear us. Hold on 1 second. We're gonna pop up and then grab our guests for today.
The music is just so, I don't know, man. Aren't you
I
feeling
don't know why he doesn't know that I want like the wait bot. Give me the like in the green room. The wait bot gives me this funky Cole Medina amazing music, and then here it's like
I'm having a moment of time with you. I can sing much better than this. She just left me on stage.
I know I didn't mean to
with
do
this
that. I'm sorry. I'm
music.
trying to get the wait bot off.
That's okay.
All right, wait bot is now quiet. There we go. Hello, everyone. It's good to see you. Welcome to another episode of RoxTalks. This is the 4th episode, and if you recall, last week we had the fantastic Manissa Konecki on, and it just felt right in the moment. At like Jinx, we both said we need to do this more often. So Manissa is going to be joining us from now on. You'll see some kind of changes, names, and all those things as we evolve and whatnot. But we're so glad to see you. I know we're now streaming on Facebook. We're live. Looks like that is rocking. And we have some guests today. I'm going to pull them up on stage right now. Give me 1 second. All the things.
Oh, you're going to love these guests. I love these people.
Right,
we were just chatting in the green room, laughing and laughing. And we actually had to Roxanne was like, we have to go now. We have to go now. We have to get started.
I'm like, I love the Nordic skiing conversation, but we must leave. So let me go ahead and introduce them as they hop up and get their all things on. Give me 1 second. Get your videos going. Oh, I did something. I think I just took her off the stage. Sorry. Let me try that again. This is, at least I didn't hit kick from the show.
It's new software. It's new software.
It is new software. And can I just say that I feel like maybe Mark Cuban, who this is his software, is trolling me slightly, because what did I say last week? I'm like, go Suns, go. And
you did.
Suns did not go. His team went. The Mavericks went.
Oh, no.
Hurt my heart and my soul. I'm just trying to survive and keep moving. So congrats, Mark Cuban and the Dallas Mavericks and all the things. So now we got
But with that win, he can amplify and make this software even better with
that. Do you know what? Okay, so I took one for my team, took one for the team. So you're welcome, Mark Cuban, for that. Fantastic. Too funny. Okay, so let me introduce our guests today. We have the fantastic, and I'm going in order of how I see you, Kirsty McGinnis. Kirsty McGinnis happens to be a registered nurse, back from the days of ER nurse. Think about that. And all the things, and critical care nurse, who's now turned into, she's a mother. She's phenomenal. She's also an expat to the U.S. You'll hear her accent. But she is a big believer and advocate for better than clean beauty. Beauty that is beauty and all things that don't mess with your hormones, for an easy way to say it. And she happened to be, we'll talk about it in a second, but I'll leave you there. Then we have the fantastic Megan Sumrall. She is not only a longtime now friend of mine, you're all friends of mine. I invite my friends on the show. That's how this works. But Megan also, when it comes to productivity and time management and all the things of just organizing your life, you don't go anywhere else but Megan Sumrall. If you do, you'll end up going to Megan Sumrall after. It's just going to happen. And so I'm thrilled to have you guys both on the show to chat with Manissa and I and talk all the things. So are y'all feeling all right?
Awesome.
Yes.
Great. All right. So let's go ahead and dive in, shall we, Manissa? So the first thing we want to talk about is this. Okay. So have you guys seen the HBO Max docu-series, Not So Pretty. I Feel Pretty.
Mm-mm.
No,
I
but I've been consuming information about it, but I have not myself seen it.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. And it's funny because when the so let me just say I didn't hear about it until Kirsty told me about it. And I was like, okay, I'll watch it. Yeah, I'll watch it. And then I watched it and I was so incensed by the first episode. The premise is this: the beauty industry is the only, I don't know if it's the only, but it is a big industry, right? It's $1 trillion industry in the US and it's not actually regulated. I mean, yes, there's the FTC, but really if you don't do anything, if you don't, there's no weight, there's no arm that like slaps your hand. They have to ask you, could you please, would you mind recalling that? So there's no real regulations, which causes issues, as you can imagine, because when you choose money versus health, not everyone chooses health. So anyhow, I watched it and then collaborated with Kirsty and some other phenomenal people on doing a short form podcast that just breaks it down. The Just to get you guys all up to speed, it breaks it down from there's an episode on makeup, and there's an episode on nails, then one on skin, and then one on hair. And Kirsty, you were in the and phenomenal in the skincare episode. Let me ask you this: as someone who has seen it and watched it, were you surprised? I mean, you're in the advocate area, but did you see anything that surprised you from the docuseries?
It did. I mean, I come from it from the perspective of having a medical background and dealing with the FDA, the Food and Drug Administration side of things through the medical sphere. And there are strong regulations that control, drugs that are come out to the public. They have to go through rigorous testing to prove their safety, to prove their effectiveness. And I just presumed that products that are sold on the shelves would equally be safe. Now, I knew that we didn't have the same kind of regulations that Europe has in terms of banned ingredients, and that's a whole other discussion. But I did feel, or just intrinsically trusted, that if there were products that were out there that were unsafe, that the FDA had the same regulation to be able to pull a product, like it can pull a drug. You can black label a drug when studies start showing, or doctors start reporting adverse events. It can recall stuff. But when it comes to cosmetics, when it comes to actually even food, consumer products, they are voluntary recalls.
So for you, it was a surprise, even from coming from a medical field. You assumed something that I mean, would you guys agree? Is that what you assumed too? Like, oh, someone is regulating what's on the shelves?
Well,
100%.
what's interesting? Dude, I used to work in medical manufacturing. So for me, one of the things that we had to go through all of the CGMP compliance, and it takes years and years to get drugs or devices approved by the FDA. And there's so much work that needs to get done. And when you're saying this just now, I realized, oh my God, what's really funny is that there are things where somebody the other day was like, would you want to try this supplement? And I was like, can you show me the sheet that comes with it that shows all of the validations and all the work that you've done? And they hadn't done any of it. And I was like, well, why not? And they're like, we don't need it. And suddenly my mind was like, and this was about a few months ago, but when I realized that there's so many things for which this is absolutely not necessary, and we just assume as Americans that somebody's taking care of this. I think that's the issue, is that we just assume somebody's taking care of this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right.
That false sense of security
It means that we have to trust that Big Beauty is doing the right thing for us. And I started calling it Big Beauty after watching this, because it smacks of big tobacco in terms of their ability to do what they want.
Yeah.
Down to the actual element that they use the same lawyers as the big tobacco lawyers. I should say Johnson and Johnson. And in all fairness, Johnson and Johnson is featured in the makeup episode. Is probably not technically makeup, but of course, if you've heard anything about talc, or if you Google talc, you'll learn that Johnson and Johnson, it was not innocent in what they've done in any way. I was incensed, and I don't want anything in my house that's Johnson and Johnson at all. Because I just,
They did the baby powder, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
darling.
the one from our childhood that everybody can picture in their minds right now. That's them.
That since the 70s, they knew that the talc had asbestos in it, and they even found a solution, cornstarch, but they didn't want to undo the marketing they've done with baby powder. So since the 70s, yes, they have just kept marketing it. And you want to go one further. Not only that, they decided to do some tests just to make sure on prisoners. And they basically shot them up like with like high amounts of it. And yeah.
See, this
First
is
of all,
exactly
isn't that illegal?
It wasn't back then. I don't. Black
fair.
prisoners, and when the prisoners tried to fight it, the statute of limitations is passed, so they can't get anything for it. Megan, you were going to say something. I didn't interrupt you. Go ahead.
and this is one of the reasons why I haven't actually sat down and watched the show. And you could say I'm sticking my head in the sand, but it's from the, oh my gosh, I am scared to go watch a series to find out that 90% of the stuff in my home, like, is this going to mean that literally I need to go fulfill my husband's dream of like homesteading? And I mean, it's not that I want to ignore it. It's just, I want to go, oh, I'm nervous to say, do I need another degree and full-time job to manage every single product that comes into my home, that goes on my body, that I watch, and it sounds overwhelming and exhausting.
So I agree with you. Yeah, I agree with you. And I will say, this is the month of mental health and awareness. And so maybe the question is this a good thing to be watching for your mental health and awareness? And
not for me.
Yes and no. Because what if some of these products are having an adverse reaction in my makeup, in my brain chemical that could be causing more depression? Like, damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Yeah. Kirsty, I know you want to touch on what she just said there.
I think that is our tendency to want to bury our head in the sand. And yes, you watch this, yes, the things we are putting on our body and are in our homes that we are using every day are indeed being absorbed into our body and affecting the way in which our bodies operate. Plastics, a lot of cosmetic products contain endocrine disrupting compounds. And it's not just, estrogen, testosterone, or it's not just the reproductive organs. You think your endocrine system is responsible for pretty much how every cellular function goes on and off. Your mood is regulated by serotonin and cortisol, your sleep by melatonin, epinephrine, your thyroid, there are so many, your pancreas, insulin, those are all your endocrine system. And, these compounds actually can do two things. They can trigger particularly estrogen to fire up and pour out in high levels, or it can act to gum up the works so that your system doesn't work properly. So you can bury your head in the sand, or you can be empowered by information. And it isn't like everything. You don't need to go live in a desert or homestead, but with knowledge, you can make simple, sustainable changes and work out what you can live with, what you can't live with. For me, I have very pale skin. I have I have had skin cancer. So for me, I have to use sunscreens. I can't compromise on that. So there's going to be some toxins and some things in sunscreens. But if I'm reducing my exposure in other areas, sorry, I talk with my hands a lot. If I reduce my exposure in other areas, then your body, that's what your liver does. Your liver detoxifies you. So if you're not overloading it with too many things, your body can do what it's supposed to do.
So I think the thing is,
mind?
Go ahead.
Actually, do you mind if I ask a question really quick? I would like to ask. So Megan had said that she didn't want this to be a full-time job, and you had mentioned it doesn't have to be a full-time job. So one of the things as you were talking that I was thinking about is, for me, I try to break things up into smaller pieces. Okay, today I'll deal with, this week I have bandwidth for lipstick. So do you have someone, or do you follow someone, or what should people do if they're okay, I want to do this, but I don't have the bandwidth to just revamp my whole life. So who can I follow? What can I do to incrementally improve rather than try to revamp my entire life at once?
Well, I have. Funny you should mention that.
Did I just lead you totally into where you?
You totally did. It's hilarious. I'm you didn't even know that.
I have a little email that I can send out. It's kind of like a simple tips to get going. Some simple things you can do to clean up in your house, and simple changes you can make with products that you are using, some resources you can go to. And, it's don't be overwhelmed. I always think of what's the next step. Just make one step in the right direction, and then know that as your body is programmed to want to bring itself to homeostasis, to bring itself to happy, normal functioning. And if you can just remove some roadblocks from that, your body will do a lot to help itself. I mean, even smoking, if people give up smoking, the lungs will repair themselves within about 5 years, as long as they didn't get cancer along the way. But your body will clean itself up. And the same thing with exposure to, plastics, to EDCs. Within a couple of days of reducing your exposure, your body has stopped excreting. They can measure plastics and they can measure exposure in urine and blood. And within a couple of days, they've done some studies on that, of removing large quantities of them by swapping out products. There are measurable changes within days.
So what I did is I just she's talking about, she's created a low tox beginner's guide, life guide.
There you go.
And I actually put
Love
the link
that.
in Facebook for y'all, so you can check it out. If you're watching on Facebook, I just posted the link in
That's awesome.
on yours, Melissa's, and on my live stream. So just know that
thank
that's
you.
there. Yep. You can also follow Kirsty and gang at Your Low Tox Life on Instagram. And they've really, they were doing this before, but now have really been committed to just making sure, because, again, we're talking about mental health this month. And yeah, like I watched it and I thought, oh my gosh, all the things. I got to get rid of all the things. I got to check the things of all the things. I've already changed my makeup, so I am making changes. And I'm not letting Scott plug in those little fragrance. By the way, fragrance is bad, just so you know. Like, not to
I'm
scare
so
you, but
lucky
if
I'm
you-
allergic to everything. I don't wear makeup. I
are.
have no fragrances. I literally have nothing.
You-
I'm like, oh my God, this is great. The only thing I may need to worry about is lube. So I just need to go check out all my lube to make sure it's not part of the problem.
Well, I love that you brought up, how it affects your hormones, your hormone system and everything, as you're talking about that.
You're welcome, everybody.
But as a mom of a young daughter, so my
Uh-huh.
daughter's about to be 12, it's been, and tying into the mental health as well, they're at that stage in school where they're doing the health unit, and all the sex ed and all of that. And I'm astounded at the percentage of young 11-year-old girls who are already menstruating. And thankfully, we haven't hit that yet. My daughter is going to definitely be on the late bloomer side, thank God. But how that relates to mental health, there's a reason why I think our cycles and everything that we entering womanhood should be starting later, because of the emotional toll that you go through. I mean, you guys remember that first time? It's a lot. And now it's starting younger and younger and younger because of the
All these
toxins we're
things.
ingesting, the things that we're doing. And pretty soon we're going to be asking, there was 2 gals that were 9-year-old young little girls
Megan,
to take on the mental health load of starting their periods.
I got news for you. Again, not plotted or planned, but Kirsty sent me an email or a message, and I was like, I'm not clicking on that. That's clickbait. It's not clickbait, but it just was that it was like girls are starting their periods at 6.
Yes.
6.
Yep.
Oh my God.
And how do you...
You're a baby at 6. Like, you're literally a baby.
Yeah. And I mean, the mental health load that's going to go onto a young girl, it breaks my heart. Like, I'm thankful every day that I believe we're going to be in what I would have, back from my childhood, more the 13 kind of age. And I think thankfully that will be the journey we'll be at here in our house. But I'm like, good Lord, my heart aches mentally and emotionally for all that this next generation of young girls are going through.
I 100% agree with you. So I would recommend, I know we got to keep moving and we could talk about this like forever and a day. But I highly recommend, and I love that you brought that up as a mom. There are little things you can do that can make the difference, that will help. And so I do encourage you all to just check out that guide that Kirsty and Co has made, just to get you and listen to the podcast. P.S. And by the way, I'll
And
put
I
that link as
follow,
well.
don't forget to, don't forget to follow Low Tox. What is it? Your Low Tox Life.
There you
Your
go.
low tox life.
Your Low Talks Life. We'll put all of those in there, and I'll type that up and put that on there if you're watching on Facebook as well too, because all those things will help. I do think listening to the podcast is not as stressful as watching the
Yes,
actual things. If you
agreed.
want to do that, go dive into that.
I will be the ostrich. I'm going to stay ostrich.
You can ostrich this one. This one you can ostrich. So, summer's coming up. The unofficial start of summer is literally 10 days away. Memorial Day, right? That's unofficial. And summer will be coming up. Schools are kind of getting out for those of you who are parents and all the things. And while I know it's exciting for kids, I'm not convinced anymore that it's exciting for moms. Megan,
Yes and no.
what should a mom, especially since like a lot of moms had their kids home during lockdown, and they just got them back into school, and now they're coming back. It's like the cat came back the very next day.
Usually, we have one more week of school left here, and it's like you've got that side of me that's like, yes, I'm so fucking tired of packing the school lunch. I'm like, geez, like the shit I'm throwing in her lunch boxes. I mean, the other day I threw in a Easter bunny chocolate. I'm like, sure, let's just toss that in there. So we're all at a place of like, I'm done. I'm tapped out. I'm tired of waking up at 5:15. I'm tired of the carpool lines, like the homework drama, all of it, right? So we're like, yes, summer. And then what's going to happen is about week 3 of summer is going to hit. And then every mom is like, Jesus Christ, when are we going back to school? Right? Because we're done. And I found myself in that vicious cycle for a very long time. And so I was like, a couple years ago, I was like, all right, I've got to put some systems, processes, time management stuff in place to both protect my time, but to protect my mental energy as well. Because it is, particularly if you've got those, well, on either end, right? The younger kids, it's like, what the hell do I do with them all day? The pool is really fun for about the first 5 days, and then you're over that. And then when you've got the older kids, it's like, what are they going to do that's not staring at a screen all day long, right? So if we've got time, maybe like just 1 or 2 quick tips.
Please, we have. Okay. Yeah, please, as many as you like. Go for it.
So one of the first ones I really recommend is that families need to have a morning routine and a midday routine and an evening routine. Now, when I talk about routine, I'm not talking about at 7 a.m. everybody's doing this. The time you keep flexible because it's summer, right? Maybe you stayed up late one night, you got to sleep in, whatever. But there should be a series of tasks that are we are now starting our day. It's morning around the kitchen, around contributions around the household, making of beds, all of that kind of stuff. There should be, unless you're out for the day, there should be a midday routine as well. That's a great opportunity for a reset for, again, lunch, maybe some more contributions around the house, etc. And then in the evening, the same. Because when we have those grounded routines to touch back in on every day, but we give ourselves that summer flexibility of maybe it's a later start, maybe it's an earlier start, whatever. It gives you that opportunity to kind of frame some order and structure to the day that your kids actually thrive on. And what it's really helped for me is the never ending, like, what are we doing next? What's next? What are we going to do? What's over here? Or you feel like you're a short order cook all day long in the kitchen, right? The snacks, the lunch, the fucking snacks. So when we have the routine set and the family knows the kitchen is closed, the kitchen is open. Part of our evening routine is my daughter has to prep her snacks for the next day so that they're there and I'm out of it. But to not let yourself just slide into this endless day after day after day of no routine, no structure, and no rhythm, that is what is going to lead you to summer burnout like so fast. So I really encourage you to embrace, and I mean, these routines can just be 15 minutes long, but you'll find the reset your whole household gets is incredible.
Thank you. I'm taking notes.
Question. Megan, do you have so I'm going to just kind of lead you in that direction too. Do you have something for moms to like, or do you have any sort of handout or training or something where you
I have
break it down how people get started?
I've got a whole podcast episode on time management tips for summer for moms that's going to be airing in about 2 weeks. So if you go
Nice.
over to, and there'll be a blog post about it as well. And I break down 5 summertime time management tips, and the routines is just one of those 5. So the podcast is Work Life Harmony, and you'll be seeing that air in 2 weeks or about a week and a half.
Sweet, sweet. We'll share that with everyone that we know when it comes out.
Absolutely.
That is so fabulous. My summer strategy is camps. So
Yeah, if you can get those, that's like the best strategy
my
ever,
kids
right?
excel at being in camp the whole summer long. So I kind of have a strategy of like a week on, a week off. And this year I'm sending my 15-year-old. So even though I'm really crunchy, I also have this other side. So my 15-year-old's going to 2 weeks of military camp at Norwich University in Burlington, Vermont.
Wow.
Plane, and off she goes.
And I will say for moms that work from home, so whether you have a home-based business or you're still working from home after the pandemic, one of my biggest mental health tips I can give you for managing the summer as well is you need to treat your Monday through Friday different from your Saturday and Sunday, even on summer break. Now, if you're on a true vacation, like when we go away for a week vacation, then it's whatevs, right? But when I work from home, and so even though my daughter now gets to sleep in, and my alarm doesn't have to go off at 5:15, I still have an alarm. I still get up. I still do my morning routine. I still have my, the way I start my workday. I'm still getting dressed for the day, Monday through Friday, so that then the weekends can feel like weekends. Otherwise, you let everything start meshing and merging together, and it's very subtle, but I notice women start to really battle kind of this almost low-grade depression when every day you just let yourself slip into that funk. And it was something I really encouraged people to do during the pandemic as well. I'm like, you got to get up, you got to get dressed, you got to like act as if though you're going out in the world. And that's a big shift for you on summer break.
It is huge.
I noticed that during the pandemic, I started drinking more. It was like, I don't have a drinking problem. I never have. But I started drinking a glass of wine every night because it became the only way of differentiating something in a day. And then towards the end of last year, it became 2 glasses every night. And I've been mentally thinking about that, about how I'm not going to let that happen this summer.
Yeah. And that's why, again, that weekday versus weeknight. Hey, it's a weekday. No, we don't do that. Like we save that for a Friday or Saturday night or whatever it is for you. But keep that delineation of weekdays and weekends, even on your summer break.
That was the biggest change that I made probably about 3 years ago when I was working from home, was that what happens, like you're talking about, is you start to just feel like you're on, like one of those moving walkways at the airport, but it's never ending. And it just goes on forever. And you think to yourself, this is my day for the rest. I'm literally living Groundhog Day so I had to create that separation just because it allowed me, it really did impact my depression significantly, Megan. I would actually go further and say that not only was it like, I don't think it's just low grade, I think it can actually push you into very deep depression because you start to feel like you're going down the same spiral. And it isn't until you're like, I'm literally just going to shift and have a weekend. It doesn't matter what you do to separate it, just create a separation. My husband even started doing it. And he was like, oh my God, changed my life.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, we have someone who would like to come up and ask a question. So let us do that. Give me 1 second and invite Brian.
Hi, Brian.
Brian, can you hear us? Let me see if I did that right. Hi, Brian.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
Doing well, thanks. Did you have a question for the panel?
Well, was this like I wasn't sure if this was like a woman themed episode or something.
It feels like it, right? It's funny you say that because like you had come into this and then someone else came in and Megan said menstruation, and then that guy got out really fast.
I'm just going to say I swing between strong masculine, strong feminine. So no, I mean, there's women in here, and people who menstruate, but yeah, dudes are totally welcome.
Yeah. Did you want to share to the conversation, Brian?
Yeah, sure. I've seen your episodes pop up in my notifications, and I'm usually not able to come in. because I'm usually doing stuff, but I was able to come in today, and I agree with the fortune cookie phrase. You are not behind. You're not ahead. Sorry, I said that backwards.
That's okay.
But
You're good.
you're exactly where you need to be,
Yes.
and I truly believe in that. You know, I'm I'm single, but I'm very happy in my life, and I've I've overcame so much with my journey of having autism and my fitness journey, and and I used to um, feel a lot of times like I was behind everybody, and and there are still some times where I get stuck in that comparison game when it comes to social media, but I feel as though I I am where I need to be, and I also remember that I've already accomplished more than anybody could have imagined when I was born in '89. So and diagnosed at 4 with autism. So um, yeah, it may not be exactly what you guys were talking about, but I just thought that I would introduce myself and see if I could provide some inspiration behind the fortune cookie topic. So
Brian, I am so glad and thankful that you were bold enough to come up and share that. And you're right, like the whole impetus of the with the fortune cookie is you're exactly where you're supposed to be. And I know that what you just shared, while inspiring to all of us, is inspiring people who are listening as well too. So you are phenomenal, and I champion you most definitely.
Well, Brian,
Thank you for coming up here.
I'm actually tearing up because my oldest was diagnosed on the spectrum too. And she has done such amazing things and does such amazing things. She's, as I said, she's about to go off and spend 2 weeks at a military leadership camp. She's achieving in so many areas of her life. And it's just changing the mindset that she doesn't, that your brains work a little bit differently than neurotypical. But it doesn't mean that you can't achieve some amazing things. She's just, my daughter's, maybe she's been a little bit behind the curve, particularly on emotional development stuff. But as she got older, she's learned how strategies and just achieved. I really am very emotional. So it's so wonderful to hear you chat about where you're at and to feel self-actualized, because there are no limits. My husband works in tech, and there's a lot of people on the spectrum in tech. I think Elon Musk just came out and said that he's on the spectrum. It's just in society we love to put labels on people, and I think the spectrum label just helps us understand that perhaps the way you process things and is different than the bell curve of people. So thank you for coming on and sharing.
I want to throw something in there that one of the terms that I like to use is the framework. So I work with a lot of neurodivergent business owners and people, you know, and employees as well, who they have their own way of doing things, like just like I did. And I also always felt like I was behind. I was always, I'd only be smarter. I'd only, you know, there were so many things that messages that were given as children about people who are behind. And so I want to just offer a different framework around that, which is that I don't think that it's that we're behind. What I think is happening is that we're incubating a beautiful star, and what we're about to share with the world. So for some of us, it takes a little bit longer to incubate whatever it is that we're going to share with the world. And for others, they are able to incubate it very quickly. But we're all special in whatever it is that we're growing. And then once we launch it, this is something new that we've birthed into the world that has a new framework. So the way that I like to think about all of the neurodivergence and chronic illness is that it's not about, like you were saying, Kirsty, it's about a framework so that we understand where someone's coming from, rather than, like you were saying, as like this hierarchical scale that we keep putting people on, you know, and so that's sort of what I wanted to offer, in that I think you're a beautiful star. So I don't think you were behind. I think we were all incubating. and then exploding out into the world. And they were like, holy shit, what the hell just happened? There's all the stars.
The term autism shouldn't be a destiny. It should be a perspective for understanding the way in which we relate to the world, as opposed to an endpoint. So actually, I think that was fabulous that you jumped on and talked to us. It's so much.
Thank you so much for offering your perspective.
Yes, thank you. Oh my goodness. I know we've gone over. I try and keep this 20 minutes, but I really know that secretly it's going to be longer. I just don't tell people that.
I saw 20 minutes and I went, there is no way.
That way I just, it's 20 minutes like, oh, I can do that. And it's really a 30-minute show. But that is okay because everything that's supposed to be said and discussed is meant to be. And I just love it so much. So I want to thank you all. Kirsty McGinnis, thank you so much for coming. We know we're going to go to Your Low Talks Life on Instagram to find out more about what you have to offer and the guide that you have to just help people along the way. And thank you for being so vulnerable with all things. Megan Sumrall, we're going to find you at Megan Sumrall, SUM. Oh my goodness. Now I feel the pressure.
RELL. One L?
Wow.
One L?
Two L's.
Two L's, one M.
Okay.
That scared me.
I doubted myself. Damn,
I know how to spell your name, right? Notice I didn't even try to pronounce or to spell Kirsty's name because that's just too much. But please go to All Things Megan. Her podcast is going to come out soon. We will definitely make sure that episode, you can listen to her episodes right now, actually, frankly. They're all fantastic. About tips for moms for the summer.
Yep.
And also check anything you need, organized productivity, sanity in that regard. She's your person for that. So thank you, Megan, for being here and also being so vulnerable with us. We love that. And Manissa Konecki, I'll see you next week.
You will, Roxanne Wilson. I will see you next week.
Y'all, you're not ahead.
Thank
You're
you
not
guys
behind.
So much for joining us.
Yes, you're exactly where you're supposed to be. Yes, yay! Take care, everyone. Let me invite the bot back up and do the proper thing. Let's see what song he's
give
gonna
some
play.
Music. Let's do some I Can't Dance. Some.
Nope.
Oh no, it's Tangerine Dream. All right.
You have names for this stuff. Oh, this is the one I like. It's kind of like soul-y, like feel it.
I feel like I'm about to go on a date.
I know, right? Bum chicka bow wow with your lube.
I have a lube. By the way, I got the lube that I have. It's called Naked. It's really good. You can get it at Whole Foods.
Did you read to make sure it doesn't have anything in it?
I'll check and see.
I can do a full deep dive.
No, it's really good. It's organic aloe.
Percy, I heard that.
Gum. It's really good. It's super healthy and very great.
Okay, so we've got some good lube. Good to know. I love how your lube is that close to you right now. I don't even know what to say about it.
It's everywhere in my house. Don't even do it. It's everywhere in this house. We don't have kids.
This is the after party. We're really going now.